Hi everyone and welcome, it's Dora here, and this is my next update to my Eyeshadow Declutter Project Pan, and I'm also squeezing in another intro. Very excited about that. Let me first of all explain what this project is. So since April I've been working on 5 different palettes every month, and then at the end of the month in each of these updates I would share with you which 2 of those 5 palettes would I be putting on the chopping block. The idea is then to revisit that chopping block at the end of the year and then figure out which palettes do I actually want to save, which of them do I really want to declutter, etc. Apart from, downsizing slightly my collection so that everything would fit into my 2 makeup drawers, that's the end goal. The other goal is also to get to know my collection really well. And I've really enjoyed this project for this, but I think I've sort of outgrown that system a little bit where those palettes that I had been choosing were sort of not random. I mean, one month I did randomize palettes as well because I literally couldn't decide. But I've been trying to focus on bringing in a variety of different color stories and formulas and even brands into each month's selection, just to give me, everything, like a mini collection that I could work on exclusively, as well as with my Pan That palette and Pan That palette in order. And while initially that's been really helpful, now 5 months later, I'm actually at a point where I would like, actually also thanks to many of your comments, I would like to compare palettes to one another. And that's why I would like to shift things around slightly and now start No Pan Left Behind. Not necessarily with that time pressure. I mean, yes, there is that time pressure of at the end of the year, I'd like to declutter 4 more palettes because right now I've got 5 declutters already. So I will revisit that to sort of wrap up the Eyeshadow Declutter Project Pan side of things, but I will then continue with No Pan Left Behind. I would like to very much use every single shadow in my collection, and also to roll in palettes that match each other, that have a similar color story, and maybe one of them is a bit redundant in my collection. I think I've got a much better chance of figuring all of that out and how do these shadows perform and all of that if I'm pairing them up with similar palettes. But let's quickly run over the palettes that I had been working on up until this point. So I gave myself 4 weeks, 30 days even, but actually as of today, it's day 31 now. So I think, that's still within reason, I would say. So I've had a month with these palettes. Some of them I've used more than others. I've also been away, so I didn't take everything with me. Actually, I only took one of those palettes with me from the selection. So I'm going to kick off with that one. And that was the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde palette. I absolutely adore this palette. And I've been sort of panning, while I was away, panning a look that is very similar to what I've got going on today, but I've been trying to dupe that look with the other palettes-ish. So I've got in a selection. Yeah, we'll go over it when I get to it. But basically, I'm talking about the Shadow Supernova. It's got like a coppery, peachy, but then also flip to pink type of formula on there. I really, really enjoy this shadow. I've been enjoying this entire palette. I haven't dipped into every single shadow yet, but I will be because No Pan Left Behind, Yeah, it's also rolled into Deck of Panning, so I'm doing No Pan Left Behind on this palette over there already, which will of course count towards this new project too. Anywho, a bit of an issue with the packaging. The hinge broke and then I dropped it as well while I was away. So luckily none of these beautiful shadows broke, but this bit broke, or rather the corresponding, where it should be a clasping mechanism, that's all like crumbled off now. And normally when this kind of thing happens, for me, it would be an immediate chopping block item, but I just adore this palette so much. I hadn't spent that much time with it up until it was in this project. I think maybe also a little bit because it's a discontinued palette. It just feels a little bit more special, so hence I'm, holding on to it. Right, not a chopping block item. Next, I've got a collection of Glaminatrix shadows here that I got from Ruth. It's linked down below. Please make sure you check her out. It's just a mix of different Glaminatrix shadows that she got rid of and passed on to me. I've really been enjoying the formula of these shadows. I've played around with them a little bit. I can't say I've, again, this was not No Pan Left Behind. I haven't dipped into every single shadow, but I do have Gumdrop on my crease today and I love it. And I've like played around with the shimmers as well. Super lovely. New to me, brand new to me, so not going anywhere. My only Glaminatrix palette as well as such. Then I had another palette from Ruth, and this is the Natasha Denona Ayana palette. It's a quint. You're just gonna see some footage here now because I've actually depotted it. I think I might actually count this as another declutter, so that would bring me up to 6 palettes decluttered. Yeah, hang on. Yes, totally, because it fits into my magnetic palettes now, and because, you know, a palette is a palette, I have not bought a new palette here. If I were to buy a new magnetic palette, that would mean I would have to declutter 10 palettes or one extra one instead. But yeah, these are existing magnetic palettes and the Ayana has gone in here. So 2 of the shadows here are in my BYOP. I've just updated that, upgraded my BYOP to a larger palette. And then these 3 are the remaining Ayana shadows. So yeah, I got rid of the packaging. It broke on camera in my last update, I believe. A little bit of the plastic fell out, the hinge broke, similar to the Huda Beauty. And I just thought, you know, so easy. These are magnetic shadows, just pop them out and therefore have 1 extra packaging move out of my collection. Yay, even if it's small, it still counts. I wish I could do that with the Mercury Retrograde. If any of you have depotted the Mercury Retrograde palette, please let me know what you did and how it all worked out as well. Next, I've got the Revolution Pro New Neutral Romance palette, no, blush palette. Oh, these names are so confusing, and I've got quite a lot of these new neutral palettes. And here it is. I absolutely love this color story. I, again, didn't dip into every shadow. I'm saying this a lot right now, but I did use Hint in today's look, and I just have that as my topper shadow. So basically, I'll explain the, you know, whole look to you. I used the Elf No But Shadow Stick in Champagne Crystal as a base. So it's a bit sparkly and champagne-y. Yeah, like a, you know, an eyeshadow stick. I use that so that the eyeshadow doesn't crease on me, which it would do after like 20 minutes. So yeah. And then I'm using, oh, I can't really quite show you this, but I'll insert some footage. I used Coastline as my main lid shade from the ABH Riviera palette. This is my Pan That palette in order, hence I'm not opening it up to you right now. So you're seeing an older picture. That all over my lid. And then in the outer corner, I went in with my 5th palette from this current selection, and this is the BH Cosmetics Colori Vivace palette. They don't have shade names, tiny little pans, and I used this one in the outer corner first of all, and then I used the brown, again, footage here from my Pan That palette, Barry M Black Cherry, the shadow called Bitter as well, to just deepen it up ever so slightly. And then I went with Hint on top as a topper shadow, and then the orange matte that I showed you from the Glaminatrix shadows in the crease. So yeah, and I sort of duped the look that I had been doing with the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde palette with Supernova specifically. Yeah, I'm not ready to part with this one just yet. It's obviously, you know, any of the palettes that I'm keeping as of today are fair game in terms of No Pan Left Behind, and I would like to work on them. So it will get rolled in again. I am just not putting it on the chopping block today. I am really quite drawn to this color story. I think it's lovely. It's got a great variety in there. I do love a pressed glitter as well. Lovely matte shadows. I like that pop of teal there as well. So it's a keeper. And then finally, I already showed you this palette a little bit, BH Cosmetics Colori Vivace. I really like the shimmers in here as topper shadows. They're not very practical to use because the pans are so small. Maybe a good Pan That palette contender again, because I already had this as a Pan That palette in 2024, and then I gave up on it because I had too many Pan That palettes going on. I think maybe for practicality, this is the 2nd palette that I'm putting on the chopping block along with the Natasha Denona Ayana, although you know the result of that already. I have saved the shadows and I've recycled the packaging. So, okay, I will revisit my chopping block at the end of the year, but I'd like to update you now on what I have managed to declutter so far. So in update 1, I put 2 palettes on the chopping block, the Ellen Tracy, the Naked Eye collection, as well as the I Heart Revolution Tasty Pineapple palette. Both of those chopping block palettes have already found new homes, and I've heard back that they adore them. I gave one to my niece, I gave the other one to a dear friend of mine. So yeah, great. That's my first 2 chopping block palettes gone already, my first 2 declutters. The third one was the Ayana, which I already showed you, and yes, I am counting that because it is about space for me. I'm not trying to necessarily look at, oh, I have to, get rid of X amount of individual eyeshadow pans. No, it's about the space, because that's why I'm doing this. I would like all of my makeup to fit into those 2 drawers. The next palette, I think, should come as no surprise if you saw my previous Pan That Palette update already. So I finally depotted the Kombucha Kiss, or what was left of it, heavily frankened by that point. I took some of those shadows out. I saved 3 of them. I frankened 2 of them together, so I've got 2 shadows left of that. I'll show you that in my BYOP update. I'm going to link that here for you. And the rest of them I just discarded. I actually ended up doing like one sort of random, like all the discards Franken shadow as well. So technically I've got 3 shadows that I've still got Kombucha Kiss in them. But yeah, packaging is empty and will also be recycled. Then also, maybe not so new to you, but the Revolution Chilled palette, I just decided to depot this one as well. I had a look at my chopping block initially because I thought first I was going to wrap up this project entirely, and then changed my mind because I just can't find those 9 palettes just yet. So I thought, let me swap out the Constellation palette, also in the Forever Flawless Makeup Revolution metal casing, with the Chilled palette, because just comparing those 2 palettes next to each other, and they're roughly the same age in terms of how long I've had them in my collection, I just thought that the Constellation palette represents me so much better than this one. So, but I still love all the greens and the neutrals in here. So I went ahead and depotted and kept what I wanted to. It's mainly the pressed glitters that I got rid of. So these 2 columns here and then these 2 shadows here are from the Chilled palette, and that means I've saved 12 shadows, yeah. No, 14, because 2 of them are in my BYOP. And I'm gonna try them all out, see how I go, and I may be decluttering individual shadows, but that's, for BYOP, not for this project. And the 6th palette that I'm decluttering is the Revolution Jewel Glow palette. There were only 8 shadows left in here when I decided to depot the rest of it. So here it is again. It had some discards, and these 5 shadows here are the depotted Jewel Glow palette shadows. So I kept those 5, and then 2 more, I believe, so 7. So 1 I got rid of, and then this super lovely silver and the cool tone matte shadow I also depotted from the Jewel Glow. But I feel good about that. That is 3 plus, I don't have the packaging here right now, but let's just use this one because it's similar-ish in shape. Let's just grab these 2 random ones as well. I know like one of them was quite a bit bulkier, but 6 palettes, this is sort of what we're looking at in terms of leaving my collection. That's a lot of space that I've now got in my makeup drawer again, or that I've got for, backups and other spillover to put in there now. So I'm happy with that, but I still need to declutter 3 more palettes, and hopefully No Pan Left Behind is going to help me with that. So let's look at my intro to No Pan Left Behind next. Like I said, for No Pan Left Behind, I would like to team palettes together that have a similar color story, and I'm being brave today because I'm going to put 2 lots of palettes into this intro, if you wish, at the same time. 5 palettes in total. I know I won't have them all complete for the next update. Doesn't matter. I'm hoping to have at least 1 set done for the next update so that I can do a switch out and introduce the next lot to you. I had so much fun going through my entire eyeshadow palette collection and then just selecting different, just teaming them up together and really seeing my collection with new eyes. So much fun. I've got 16 different pairs, sometimes more than 2 palettes, sometimes 3, I think in one case even 4 palettes. That might change, you just never know. Here's my first set of eyeshadow palettes for No Pan Left Behind. I've got 3 of them. And the first one is the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde palette. I've already got this in deck of panning. And yeah, like I said, I've been really enjoying this palette, and I would just like to actually use every single shadow in here rather than only dip into what I feel like, just to get like a true feel for it. And I then looked around like, is there anything that I've got that has got like a similar sort of color story going on? And yes, sure enough, there is a palette, even though you've seen it already in the Eyeshadow Declutter Project Pan series. It is a chopping block palette, and it's the Essence Welcome to Miami palette. I mean, of course, they're not dupes for each other, but I do see a lot of similarity here. So I would like to just test them out side by side, maybe see if I can create similar looks with both of them. One goal I would like to set as well is to do one exclusive look with each palette, because I can then also roll out quite a lot of shadows in one go if I'm using like 6, 7, maybe even 8 shadows at the same time in one look. And also I never do that, so yeah. And then the next palette, this is a bit of a stretch, the Revolution Neutral Romance palette. So this I just think is also kind of similar. I mean, what I wrote down, I think, was just like neutral and purple, you know. So I think, of course, there's no teals here in the Revolution palette, but again, and there is some kind of ethereal stuff going on there as well with those duochromes. I just think there is a similarity here. And then also somewhat between the Essence and the Revolution palette too. And my second set, I'm so excited, and it's also kind of strange because these are my only 2 truly neutral palettes. What? I know I've had more neutral palettes in the past. I had a Revlon one, I want to say, that I passed on. And what's more, these 2 palettes have not been in my Eyeshadow Declutter Project Pan yet, so maybe that's a little bit more interesting for you. But although this one is so well known and probably half of you have got it. So this is the Natasha Denona Glam palette. I have a little pan in there. Yeah, I can see dips in some of those shimmers. I think I haven't dipped into these shadows yet, for example. And again, yeah, would just like to try this one out a bit more, get to know it better, do that exclusive look as well. And here's another very reflective palette. This is a YSL Quint. It's called Couture palette. And here's what this one looks like. I have played around with it a little bit here and there. I've definitely done like an exclusive look with this palette alone, but it's been a while. I'm just holding them together side by side. So yeah, my only 2 neutral palettes, which I think is kind of weird because I do like neutral looks, but apparently, you know, this is not what I'm going for when I was really into shopping eyeshadow palettes. I'm going to be swatching those color stories in my first update. I just thought, let's keep it short and sweet. There's a lot I had to pack into this video. Let me know what you think. Have you got any ideas of how I could be structuring this, or maybe more rather in terms of what type of stuff you would like to see in terms of No Pan Left Behind. I'm fairly new to No Pan Left Behind. I'm only now like really looking at the hashtag on YouTube and catching up on videos that other creators have done. I mean, of course I've seen No Pan Left Behind updates, and I'm just like getting into them now though, more recently, and I'm loving it. So yeah, throw all your ideas my way. I'd love to hear. And thank you so much for watching and for supporting me. I hope you subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I also hope you have a lovely rest of your day or night wherever you are, and I'm sending you so much love. Take care. Bye.